but I loved it. The men are so toxic and it's wonderful. I just want to see it once. Can I just go in there? I don't really want to live in it. Can I just visit? I am going to do the book recommendation tag that has kind of been going around. I believe it started with Steph. I think now I'm just kind of jumping in. Not like that I'm on their level or anything, but I just wanted to pop out this video for you guys. This won't really be a book review video. I'm just going to recommend books. I'm not going to go into too much detail about what each book is about because I've talked about these books so many times on my channel. There are 15 questions. Within each question, I had a really hard time just picking one book. So for some of the questions, I do have multiple books to recommend. Question 1 is a book that I tell people is my favorite book. Now this one depends on who I'm talking to. If I'm talking to you guys, I can be very upfront and honest. Now if I'm talking to a coworker, I kind of give a little white lie so they don't know I only read reverse harem smut, you know? You kind of feel what I'm putting down, okay? So if I'm recommending you guys a book, it would have to be one of these 3. So people who aren't afraid of smut, you know, if they know what the term smut means, I'm like, okay. I love Emily McIntyre. Scarred is definitely one of my favorite smutty books. I just think the plot is present as well as smut, so you're kind of getting the best of both worlds, but I probably wouldn't recommend this just like anyone I talk to. If someone were to ask me, kind of depending on the person, I recommend Mariana Zapata like they're my own books. I'm like, absolutely read Mariana Zapata. All roads lead here. This is my favorite Mariana Zapata book probably ever. The slow burn just makes you want so much more from her, and like I wish that her books were like 800 pages. They are like 500 to 600, but even when it's done, I'm like, I need more. I want more of these characters. So every Mariana Zapata book I'm just head over heels for. So this is probably one of my favorite books to recommend to people. All-time favorite series, literally nothing has beat it. Come at me if you want. Is Throne of Glass. And not just the first book, because we all know the first book is trash compared to the rest of the books, but there are 7/8 if you really count Assassin's Blade. No matter who you are, I will be like, this is my favorite book. This is my favorite series. You could never, I don't want to say never because I feel like our tastes change as we grow up, but I hope that I never ever grow out of this series. You see so much character development from book 1 to the last book, and I just know with everything going on in the Sarah J Maas world right now, I feel like it's just gonna grow from here. Like this series isn't over and neither are like her other ones, and it makes my heart so happy. A book that is my guilty pleasure. Honestly, Kindle Unlimited reverse harem books. That's my guilty pleasure because reverse harem isn't necessarily held in the highest regard of romance books. Not everyone loves them, but I devour them. I love the fact that there could be one female and like 3+ men just drooling over her for her attention and like for her love, and even if they're really, really terrible men and like literally are horrible people, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That is by far a guilty pleasure of mine. Specifically these 2 series. This is Broken Bonds. It is 6 books, and then this is the Psycho Shifters world, and that is 3 books. I'm pretty sure a 4th one just came out. I don't think I'm going to read the 4th one because it's kind of like a spin-off in another character's perspective, but Psycho Shifters was a little bit more on the modern, cheesier side. The men are so toxic and it's wonderful. And in Broken Bonds, books 4 through 6 I didn't enjoy that much, if I'm being completely honest, but 1 through 3, loved them. A book everyone loved, but I didn't. This book I didn't love. Hold on. I have 2, and actually one of them is really recent, and in a vlog that I just posted, in that video I talked about how much I disliked Zodiac Academy. I feel like I could still read the other books. I'm just never gonna, I don't think I'm ever going to purchase the other books unless I just really fall head over heels for them. It is so chaotic in like not a very good way. It kind of gives me those cheesy teenage, college, high school kind of fantasy shows, kind of like Teen Wolf, Vampire Diaries, or the Winx Saga. And although I really actually like those shows, I did not like it in a book. I thought it was too fast paced. By chapter 3, they're like already harnessing their powers, and I'm like, wait, what? It's just, it was a little confusing to me on where the hype is from. I don't understand. The next book, The Cruel Prince, I read this right after I read ACOTAR because I heard that it was similar and it just was not. Like, it is not similar to ACOTAR. Don't listen to a word anyone says. It is young adult. There's no sexual tension. The main character is absolutely just a terrible listener. She's not obedient at all. She does what she wants, which is always great, okay? We love someone who doesn't follow rules, but she just really like does not know how to function in this new world that she was thrown into, and I just did not like it. A book that I read the fastest, and this is kind of a stupid one because of course I read these really fast, but it is these two, which I haven't read the third one yet, but it's because they're like 200 pages. And I read these so fast, like I read them in one night. This is also Reverse Harem. Another, you know, guilty pleasure of mine is just Peter Pan retellings in multiple men, apparently. And the dialogue on each page, like, there's literally no paragraphs at all. It's all dialogue. So it's incredibly easy to read, but I liked it. A book that deserves more hype. This book I have mentioned probably in every single recommendations video ever, and it is A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. I think I read it my senior year of college, and because I specifically remember reading it on my phone while I was at the gym. Like, I was at the gym reading it on my phone doing cardio or something, and I was like, where can I find more books like this? That was when I eventually, because I read this, it led me to read ACOTAR, which led me into this big book obsession, basically. I think this book deserves way more hype than people give it. My favorite part about this series specifically is the history that's kind of drenched in this whole series. Like, they're so, like, in the second book they go back in time. I actually want a tattoo from this book. Like, this book it means so much to me, and there's a lot of history involved, but it's not too witchy. Like, obviously it's with witches and vampires, but it's not like cringy like Twilight was or anything like that. Like, this kind of a better version of Twilight in my opinion. And it's a TV show now. So go pick this book up. A book that is becoming a movie or TV show. I'm pretty sure, like, I was kind of confused by this announcement the other day. Yes, okay, so From Blood and Ash. Jennifer Armentrout posted, "I'm so happy to finally share some pretty big news I've been keeping quiet for quite some time. From Blood and Ash fantasy drama in the works at Amazon." I'm excited. But here's the thing with me. For example, Daisy Jones and the Six just became a TV show. I loved Daisy Jones and the Six. I haven't watched the show yet, and it's been out for 2 weeks. I think I have this, and people might be able to relate. I have this feeling in my gut that because I love a series or a book so much, I'm terrified. I'm terrified to watch it, so I just keep procrastinating and putting it off. And I'm like, I don't have time. I definitely have time. I just have been avoiding it. And I'm scared that, like, when ACOTAR comes out, I feel like I'm not gonna watch it. A book I have reread the most. I don't reread very often. It sounds stupid because I'm kind of growing out of Colleen Hoover. Right now, at least. Like, if she comes out with a new book, I'll probably read it. But right now, I'm, like, over it. But I've reread November 9 like three times? 4 times. I don't remember. I've reread November 9 a lot because I really, really love that book. A book from a genre you don't typically read. I finished this one this month actually, so I don't want to give a full-blown review because I'm going to do that in my wrap-up. Finley Donovan is killing it. And I just finished Finley Donovan Knocks 'Em Dead. I finished the second book. From the first page, I was gone. I was like, this is amazing. This is incredible. I'm not a mother, but Finley, is a mother of 2. And the first chapter it opens up with is just like a chaotic morning with toddlers, and it cracked me up. I was hooked from the beginning. So funny. Finley and her babysitter Vero are kind of these, like, they accidentally get hired to go kill someone. I can't take you on the journey because you just have to read it yourself. It's like a cozy mystery with some rom-com in it, but like she's a serial killer. It's just really interesting. It is such a unique genre. Like, if anyone has any cozy mystery books, please let me know. A book that deserves all the hype it gets. I don't want to be cliche, but I'm gonna be cliche. I'm just gonna show you the top. Okay, we all know what it is. I'm not even gonna go into depth, okay? It deserves all the hype. Maybe not the first book, but the whole series, 1000%. A book that you usually recommend when recommending books to people. I have two, and this one kind of relates back to that first question. It really depends on the person and like who I'm talking to. Say they don't read romance at all, then I don't recommend a romance book. In that case, like if they don't read romance at all, I usually recommend A Good Girl's Guide to Murder because I think it's YA, it's safe, but it's also such a fun little journey that you go on. Maybe not fun. Fun's not the right word. It's also traumatizing because it's like these poor kids, you know, these poor kids. But I think that the mystery itself is very fun to go through with Pip, and I really, really enjoyed. I listened to the audiobook, so if someone asks for a recommendation, I'm like, have you read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder? Like, this is a great book. If you haven't read it yet, why? If people do read romance, recently, Icebreaker by Hannah Grace, I feel like this is a really healthy kind of romance. There's not a lot of drama and there's not a lot of like trauma in it at all. There's just like this cute little relationship where they kind of don't like each other at first, more so like she doesn't like him, but he's like a golden retriever and just super, super sweet, and he's very open and there's a lot of communication. The tropes are really well done and the smut is great. So this is kind of like a go-to recommendation for me when it comes to romance. A book that has my favorite character/characters, I'm gonna have to say Jade City. Again, this is kind of like Sarah J. Maas books. Like, I think about this book constantly and these characters in this world and how much I absolutely fell in love with the people in this book, even though that they were so morally gray and messed up and just had their own issues, but I did not care. Shay, Hilo, Andon, I love them all. They're definitely my favorite characters probably of all time. I like to relate this book a little bit to like Six of Crows. This is more political and way more political. Oh my god, I said that so casually. This is like a really political series, just so you know. So like if you're going into it thinking that there's action and adventure the whole time, there's not. But I do like to compare it to Six of Crows because of that found family aspect, and there's a little bit of like morally gray everything. Like nothing they do is good, but I really love these characters and the people in this book. It's just so good. The character development in the third book will just crush you. Y'all are gonna think I'm crazy for this one. A book that I wish I could live in. And like, I could be cliche and say all of my favorite books. Like, of course I want to live in Prithian and I want to live in Neverland and like Harry Potter. You know, we all want to be in those worlds. But you know what's really messed up? I want to be in this world. And if you've read this book, you know that like, you're like, Patty, that's a dark and terrible, agonizing world. Like everyone literally is like dying. People hate it. It's a terrible world. I understand. But the sun hasn't risen in a really, really long time. And the way that they describe the sky is like red. I'm like, I just want to see it once. Can I just go in there? I don't really want to live in it. Can I just visit? That's what I'm changing this question to. A book you wish you could visit. This one. I just want to go in for like 3 minutes. Just get a look at the sky, and then peace out, because I really, really, really don't think I would survive very long in this world. The next one is a book that I thought I would hate, but I ended up loving. I never go into a book that I pick up thinking like, oh, I'm gonna hate this book. Why would I pick it up? So I'm just gonna say like a book that I wasn't too excited about, like a book that I went into thinking like, oh yeah, I wanna read that, but I wasn't like head over heels with the idea of starting it, but I ended up loving it. Also read this one this month, and I was scrolling on Libby. So what I do usually when I finish an audiobook, I just go on Libby, I scroll a little bit and I find what's available. Like I don't really have anything in mind. I just find an audiobook that's available because my drive to work is like an hour each day. I found The Alice Network by Kate Quinn on Libby, and I listened to it while I read it. So I mostly listened to it in the car, but I also like have the physical copy, and it's used. It's like so tattered and I love it. It's amazing. And I was not really like looking forward to it. I was like, oh, I own that book. I should probably read it. I should probably get it on Libby, see how I like it. Absolutely loved it. This is definitely gonna start my historical fiction obsession. I can tell. I really wanna read some Kristen Hanna, is that her name? Or Kate Quinn. I just bought The Rose Code. I know that Diamond Eye is really, really popular. Like there's so many books now that I want to read because I read this. if you're kind of on the fence about a new genre, I feel like just doing it anyway, maybe finding an audiobook of that book that you're considering, even if you think you won't like it, and just give it a shot. A book that made me cry, the most recent one, is Before We Were Strangers. Tear up so hard, and let me tell you why. No, I can't tell you why because it's a spoiler. It just made me cry. I would read it and something happens and you get so angry at their situation and like at what happened because it seems so unfair that I was so upset for Matt and Grace specifically. Like I was so upset. So yeah, this one did make me cry. I did a vlog on this one also. That 12-hour reading vlog if you want to go back and watch. The last recommendation is a book that I wish I could read for the first time again, is Broken Bonds, because I disliked the last 3 books. I want to see if I like the first 3 like I'm saying I did, because I loved the first one, and then the second one I was like, oh, this is good too. Like I think I liked the second one better, and then the third I was like, that's the same plot as the last 2 books. And then the fourth one was like, that's the same plot as the last 3 books. And it just kept like repeating itself. It was a super repetitive series, but I want to reread it just to like see if I missed something. Like, did I miss something in the first book that like any plot buildup? Like, did I miss something? I think this is more of like a me thing and not like anyone else, because I've heard such good things about the series, so I was a little confused when I got to book 5 and I was like, my brain hurts from just reading the same thing over and over and over again. That is it for this video. Thank you for tuning in and watching and listening to me talk about these books. If you have any book recommendations for me, please comment them down below. I'm constantly taking book recs and always adding them to my Goodreads. Now, if you want to stay up to date on what I'm reading currently, you can follow my Goodreads, which is linked down below, or you could go to my Bookstagram, follow me there, and I post occasionally on my main Instagram. So that is it for this video. I will see you in the next one.